Good evening, everyone. I'm Candy Ashdown, Chair of the Board, and I'd like to welcome you all to the regular meeting of the Board of Education for Tuesday, June 16th, 2026. I would like to start out by reminding everyone that this meeting will be live streamed as per policy number 7. Regular and special meetings of the board may be streamed live, archived, and accessed online. The board reserves at its sole discretion via motion at any meeting the right to not stream live or archive a meeting or a portion of a meeting. Further, the board reserves the right to edit any recorded portion of a meeting. I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Langley Board of Education at 7:00 p.m. And I would like to first acknowledge that the Langley School District is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Matsqui, Kwantlen, Katzie, and Samiamu First Nations. We gather here tonight in an understanding of the importance of Yayastal, Skekiyais working together and not samat, let samat, uniting ourselves with one mind, one heart, to ensure that we support and inspire all learners to reach their full potential. I'd like to start as well by welcoming everyone here, and we'll start up here with the trustees. So on my far left is Trustee Joel Neufeld, and then Trustee Charlie Fox. And on my far right is Trustee Tony Ward, and then Trustee Holly Dickinson, and then Vice Chair Marnie Wilson. And then also on my left is Secretary Treasurer Brian Isley, and on my right, Superintendent Mel Gill, Superintendent of Schools, that is. And then also joining us this evening, we have Deputy Superintendent Woody Bradford, Assistant Superintendent Lisa Langeberry, Assistant Secretary Treasurer Shind Chand. I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Director of Communications Joanne Abshire, Paul Baboa, Technical Support Specialist 3, Vincent Montefrio, Technical Support Specialist 3, Colleen Hanna, Director of Indigenous Education, Tyrone Kennedy, QP 1260 Vice President, DPAC Secretary Kathy Dalziel, Paul Trottle, LPVPA President, LTA, acting still President now, LTA President Nancy Peterson, LTA Vice President Kimberly Miller. And I also wanted to mention too, I was remiss before to mention it, but Trustee Sarbrai, as well as Assistant Superintendent Marcello Moino are away this evening because they are attending the graduation for the Langley Fundamental secondary, middle secondary. So yeah, so wanted to just let you all know that. That's why they are not here this evening. And so we have a couple of announcements and a statement before we start the business portion of our meeting. So first, with regards to National Indigenous History Month and National Indigenous Peoples Day. National Indigenous History Month and National Indigenous Peoples Day are important to all peoples in Canada in the journey of truth and reconciliation and celebration of Indigenous brilliance. June 2026 has so much to celebrate. This year marks the 30th anniversary of National Indigenous Peoples Day on June 21st. The solstice was chosen due to the significance that this day has both culturally and spiritually for Indigenous peoples. This June, graduates are attending their commencement ceremonies as a symbol of their success in Langley schools. This graduation class is also the first generation of students that have journeyed through their 13 years recognizing Orange Shirt Day. There is so much to celebrate. It is a time to embody Vince Stogan Musqueam Elder, teachings of hands back, I should have practiced that, my apologies, hands back and hands forward to reflect on all that each of us commits to in celebrating culture, language, and all of the richness of Indigenous peoples' world views and perspectives as we build a more inclusive and equitable society. On behalf of the board, we hope that you commit to learn more about Indigenous peoples here in Langley and across Canada through authentic Indigenous literature and films and being present at shared culture opportunities. Our next announcement is with regards to Pride Month. The board is sharing that the district is acknowledging Pride Month during the month of June. This month is an opportunity where we celebrate the freedom to be ourselves and show off our colors. Throughout this month, throughout the district, staff and students are holding school-led activities and events to recognize Pride Month and our 2S LGBTQIA+ community. Pride events are celebrations of the contributions made by members of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community and the progress that has been made towards safety and inclusion. It is also time to recognize how far we still have to go to achieve true equality. And last, before we start on to our business portion, is we have a statement from the board with regards to the Willoughby Elementary School partnership. As we approach the end of another school year, we recognize that there continues to be significant interest in the future of Willoughby Elementary School and the proposed partnership between the Township of Langley, the province, and the Langley School District. To ensure clarity for students, families, staff, and community members, we want to state unequivocally that the Board of Education continues to unanimously support this partnership and the exploration of a replacement Willoughby Elementary School on 80th Avenue, adjacent to the Langley Tennis Center, south of Yorkson Community Park. The board has consistently and unanimously supported this proposed partnership. On February 5th, 2026, the district announced the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the Township of Langley, the province, and the school district. At that time, the board expressed that we are pleased to work with our partners and be part of a process to plan the building of the new Willoughby Elementary for students to support changes that benefit our students, their families, and community members in Langley. While the current Willoughby Elementary remains a safe learning environment for students, a new school could offer a modernized building in proximity to additional amenities. The board remains fully supportive of school district staff who continue to work diligently and collaboratively with Township of Langley staff to advance discussions and planning related to this proposal. The board remains committed to working collaboratively with the Township of Langley and the Ministry of Infrastructure to keeping the community informed as additional information becomes available. More importantly, we are committed to continuing to work with our education and community partners to prioritize and meet the needs of all students and their families in Langley. And next, I'm going to pass over to Vice Chair Wilson for a report from in-camera.
Great. At tonight's in-camera, we discuss personnel, property, and legal. Thank you.
Moving on to consent agenda. Trustees, you have the consent agenda in your package. Could I please have a mover to move the consent agenda as provided? Moved by Trustee Fox, seconded by Trustee Dickinson. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Consideration of agenda. Do I have a mover, please, that the agenda be approved as presented? Moved by Vice Chair Wilson, seconded by Trustee Dickinson. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Great. We're moving on to superintendent's reports. 6.1 annual board development plan. I will pass this over to you, Superintendent Gill.
Thank you, Chair. This evening, I'd like to report out the work that the board has been doing and the trustees have been doing around their development. Just wanted to share that the board works in a co-governance model with the provincial government and works in tandem with the BC School Trustees Association in a relationship that supports the general direction of K-12 education, specifically around the work that we do here in the school district. And again, most of the responsibilities are detailed in the School Act, with a primary function of the school board really relating to student success. As far as areas of responsibility are concerned, this is outlined again in policy, but just wanted to give a brief introduction for public. The first is accountability to the provincial government. Certainly the mandates that are brought forth, the initiatives, policies, and directions from the ministry are provided to staff and to the board, and it's our responsibility to ensure that those things are happening in our district. Developing and maintaining a culture of student learning. Again, talked about the fact that that's the main work of the board, ensuring that students are successful. And during this board's work over the last 4 years, success rates for 6-year grad rates in Langley School District have got to 97%. Accountability and engagement to community. We still work and maintain the work side by side with our partner groups and our community. We've shown continuous examples of that work at the district level, and certainly with the community when it comes to boundary changes and such. Strategic planning. We come to the end, almost the end of the 4-year cycle. We have 1 more year left in our strategic plan, and we'll be going back to community in January, February to get started on our new strategic plan. Policy, again, framework for the safe operation of our district. The relationship between the board and the superintendent as the sole employee. Again, we've collectively gone a long way as far as our connections are concerned. That comes through a lot of hard work and time together, and I'll talk about that in a little while. Political advocacy and influence. Now that we do have a website page where we have all of our advocacy materials from the board, it's something that we'd hope the public would have an opportunity to visit, see some of the initiatives that have been pushed by the board beyond the school district, especially when it comes to the sports for our students. And I'll talk about board development in a minute, and then fiscal responsibility. Again, having the right people in place, but certainly fiscally, the school district has done a really good job of ensuring that we continue to find the supports necessary at the classroom level. Board development comes as part of our responsibility in ensuring that we have continuous learning. And we have certainly made that commitment, and we've been focusing in on a work plan that included these modules that come straight from the BC School Trustees Association. And again, if you'll notice that these 6 items fit the 9 areas of responsibility that trustees have. We've been lucky enough over the last 4 years to have facilitators that are experienced. The first was Mike McKay. When the board first came together, we had sessions with him, focused really on governance and governance models. And then we were working with former superintendent and past CEO of the BCSTA, Suzanne Hoffman. Ms. Hoffman has been a great resource for us collectively, and really happy to come in and spend time with us as a collective board. And then on one evening, we also had the current CEO of BCSTA as well, Trevor Davies, join Suzanne Hoffman in leading us through some work as well. So, and the work itself was really about not just learning, but also providing feedback to the BCSTA as they work through the modules. Those modules are new, and they really wanted to use us as a bit of a guinea pig, because most of us are quite experienced as far as trustees are concerned, and having an opportunity to get feedback from us so that they could take that back and make tweaks to some of the modules that we went through. Meeting dates. So we were busy. 10 individual dates, some evenings, some 2-day sessions, worked out to about 40 hours of in-service collectively, and really was an opportunity for us to really come together as a board. And again, quite a bit of time spent, and that's not including the BCSTA conferences. There's one in the fall and one in the spring, and most of our trustees attended those. And there are opportunities for more learning and development that's more individualized to folks based on what they're choosing. And as well, we just had a meeting just June 1st. It's our most recent meeting. It was a reflection on our 4 years together, looking at, again, this was led by Suzanne Hoffman. What are some of the practices we want to maintain collectively as a board? What are some things that we need to stop that don't impact student success? And what are some areas that we want to tweak moving forward? And so that information was gathered. That information will go forward to our August meetings, where we will work together to update our trustee handbook, which is a resource that's going to be provided to the next board. So the learning that we've been able to share together will be an opportunity for us to pass on to the next board. As well, for me personally, I do want to, as far as the process around learning together, I think as a board, we started probably not in the same place that we're finishing. I'd like to be able to say that I think we finished in a better place collectively around the vision, the sole vision around student success and how we get there together through the strategic plan. I want to thank the board for their commitment and their focus on learning and coming together and understanding their role and really focusing again on the learning itself. And really getting to a place where we may not agree all the time, but certainly there's a mutual respect at the table. There's an understanding, and overall, I believe there's a positive culture with all of us. So for that, I say thank you to all of you and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Superintendent Gill. Trustees, do you have any questions? Okay. Vice Chair Wilson.
I've appreciated the work that we've done as a board, and I think that anytime you get together and do working sessions or work collaboratively as a board, you grow. So I would hope that the board continues, the next board continues that practice. I do want to point out just that it's in your report. We didn't see it as a picture on the screen, but if people have the agenda, that it does point out, because I know during election time, a lot of people ask, what does a trustee do? So there is a good set of bullets there for the people that talks about the School Act outlines the primary functions of boards of education, including setting local policy for effective and efficient operation of schools, employing the staff necessary for school district operations, establishing conditions of employment for employees, preparing and approving the school district's operating budgets and capital plans, and hearing appeals from parents and students. So people that are wondering what trustees do, the School Act does supersede policies that districts lay out. So those are basically the functions set out in the School Act, just for people's reference. But I thank the rest of the board for engaging in the work that we did, and I think it's valuable. And I'm not sure if we can talk about the handbook, or if you talked about it a little bit.
I said that we are going to be updating.
Yeah, so that will be coming out too, and people can refer to that. It'll have a lot of useful information. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other trustees? All right, well, thank you. Thank you as well to Superintendent Gill, just for keeping us organized and arranging these planning sessions for us and our board development. Sorry, and it's yeah, I always find them to be great evenings as well, or I mean, they haven't all been evenings, I guess, but it's always a great opportunity for us to chat and then prepare also the next board. So I guess, yeah. Okay, well, thank you. And I guess there's seeing no other hands. So I will ask, please, if any trustees, if someone could please move. Okay, the mover, that the Board of Education receives the update on the annual board development plan for information as presented. You good with that, Trustee Fox? Okay, moved by Trustee Fox, seconded by Trustee Dickinson. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Right, I will pass the mic back to you, Superintendent Gill, for annual Truth and Reconciliation update.
Yeah, just an opportunity for us this evening to hear from our director, Colleen Hanna. Again, I think it's our first opportunity to present at a regular board meeting, and excited to have her here and excited to have her as part of our team. It's been a fantastic year of learning for me. I think certainly the work that District Principal Mike Pugh did was amazing, but I think again, just trying to build on the successes of what Michael has done and moved into the work that Colleen's done with not just the Aboriginal departments, but certainly the work that she's done with directors, with schools, and really focusing in on our priority learners. So, and just like to introduce Director Hanna.
I'm going to try to navigate two things because I have some of my notes I don't want to forget as we go through. So first of all, just why haskalao incha chorowataxi squeezed lim putiap in cocoach hatus Indigenous Education Langley School District. What I said there was I'm in Silkshan, I'm in Silk. I was speaking the Insilkshan language. And that's where my mom was born and raised. just outside of Vernon, and Okanagan Indian Band, which is sort of the small machine area of, or head of the lake of Okanagan Lake. And I basically just said, I'm so happy to be here and so happy to see everyone here this evening. And I'm the Director of Indigenous Education. And I also, if you venture upstairs and you wander by my door, you'll see my traditional name, which was Huorohotax, which is actually means dragonfly. So that was part of my introduction. And I always try to bring in language, and any time that we have an opportunity to bring in language and share that with you. So this is just our update for today, and I'm going to go through. And I did just want to recognize that we have done a lot of work. This is at the Kwantlen Reserve. This is just off of the this is a Statlow, if you want to know where it is. It's on the side channel of the Stalo of the Fraser River, and remembering that. Excellence is measured in generations, and that's one of the things that you mentioned earlier, Chair Ashdown, was the fact that this is a first graduation class. It's a first generation of students to have gone through and have witnessed and have been part of Orange Shirt Day and really Truth and Reconciliation. So there's a lot of important things that have happened over the last generation of students who've come through the Langley schools and BC schools, and really focusing on the Similano, Vinstogan, Musqueam elder, and the work and the teachings that he's talked about. And that was, we see that everywhere. We see it in the, just as we're coming into the boardroom, just remembering the Shwali, which is the spirit of the children in the center. That's really what we're trying to focus on, is how do we bring kids through as excited in kindergarten all the way through to grade 12 and their 13 years being really successful for them, and working on that. So, and really just trying to embrace our teachings from our local nations, and how do we bring that into our schools, and recognizing that we do have 4 First Nations in our school district, and we have our Matsqui, Kwantlen, Katzie, and Semiahmoo First Nations, as well as our partners of Lower Fraser Valley and Waichia. And today I had the pleasure of witnessing 3 graduates being sashed at Langley Fine Arts, and it was a really nice opportunity to have Waichia come in and do some personal work with some of our Métis students. So as mentioned earlier, like, our guiding principles are really our one heart, one mind, and working together. And we are honoring both of our dialects and making sure that we recognize our Hulkamelam and our Hunkaminam dialects that we have from our upriver, which is our Matsqui nations, and then Matsqui nations, sorry, and then Kwantlen and Katzie are Hunkaminam. And something I've learned over the last 8 months, 9 months, are we 10 months already? Is that Semiahmoo actually speaks Sinchauthlan, which is a dialect from Vancouver Island of Hulkaminam. So it's yet another word for us to try to remember, and really sort of try to embody all of our nations. So this is a beautiful picture shared by Sesmalot, and a reflection sort of on the teachings that we've all learned. There's been a lot of cultural teachings that have occurred during this school year. I don't have pictures of that because we didn't take any pictures of that cultural learning. There was some pretty deep cultural learning that senior team has been able to witness, be able to be part of. Some of our principals have been able to be part of that work as we've walked alongside Kwantlen and Musqueam, Vince Stogan's children and grandchildren who've come and done some pretty significant cultural work for us in the school district. So that's been really exciting to have that that cultural work done in the school district. And that is part of the hands back, hand forward work, is really how do we bring forward the work of the local nations into our school district in a meaningful and authentic way. So our learning lens is really looking back at our First Peoples principles of learning, My hope is over the next year, we can actually have our not just First Peoples principles of learning, but how do we embody Hulkamelam and Hunkaminam speaking peoples principles of learning of the land that we're on. But using this learning lens is really, we're wanting to support the well-being of our families and communities and the spirits and our ancestors. And that was a lot of the work we did this year as a school district, and remembering that our learning is holistic, reflexive, experiential, relational. Again, those are the connectedness pieces that we worked on this year through the principles of learning. And that you've heard this one a number of times as well, is recognizing the consequences of our actions, and being able to recognize that every time we reflect on, is what we're doing going to help more of our priority learners have life opportunities. And that's really been a focus, I can say, of the work that we've been doing collectively. And that's what I've been able to witness and be part of within the school district, and really recognizing and utilizing Indigenous knowledge as we go through the work that we do on a daily basis within the school district. This is just you may have seen this last year. I borrowed it from Mike. This was the work around the Aboriginal Enhancement Agreement that was presented last year. I believe it was presented last year. And really looking at the safe spaces, the representation and relationships, and how does that create belonging for our Indigenous students. And we are working on the enhancement agreement still a little bit. As you may know, some of my work when I was working at the ministry, that was my sole job, was that I went into community and I worked on enhancement agreements, including Langley's enhancement agreement, all of the neighboring school districts enhancement agreements. And because it started sort of in COVID, a lot of the pieces that have occurred that were mentioned in the current enhancement agreement, we've kind of already done. So we've been re-looking at it with sort of fresh eyes, and how do we really center this on our student learning and really try to focus on our students. So we're still working on that, and we're hopeful that during the next school year we will have that done. So these are just some examples of things that I've witnessed this year. We have some, this was a great parade that they did at Langley, Fort Langley Elementary, and really had some of our kindergarten teachers and other teachers. You can't see Sesmalot, which is Fern Gabriel. She's in the background there. I had to sneak in the front to try to get the salmon pictures of the kids all swimming through the hallways. And it was a really cool opportunity to see non-Indigenous teachers take on, really embody truth and reconciliation and the teachings that they had learned from Sesmalot. And also witnessing students speak the language, which was even more amazing, of this belonging and representation. And this was at Fort Langley Elementary, because this is where I managed to get to for their Christmas concert, and seeing students, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, speaking Hunkaminam with absolute confidence and pride. And I think the young man to the, which would be your far rightish, that you can't see beyond the drum, you can't quite see his head. He was amazing. I actually said to Sesmalot, wow, his speaking is fantastic. And she said, well, he's been with me the whole time. And so he is learning Hunkaminam instead of French. And he's a non-Indigenous student, and he is probably one of her strongest teachers, or speakers, sorry. This is another piece of us building relationship. This was at Katzie First Nation last week, that senior team went and supported our Katzie family. And this was so cool to see this young man. I think he might have been in kindergarten. They were honoring students. They were doing an honor song and they were dancing, and he popped out of his chair and decided he was going to dance with other people that were up there. And it was just such a reflection of that belonging, feeling like he's belonging, and those strong relationships. And we've been building relationships with Katzie, where we're going to be working with them on their local education agreement, language. So we're looking at developing a Hunkaminam IRP. We still have those, if you remember, instructional resource package. That's how modern languages are still worked on, and then celebrating students. Kwantlen this year, we did a lot of deep cultural work, and we saw a number of really amazing student successes for some vulnerable students within the community. And Matsqui, we were all privileged to be part of their Matsqui literacy event, which was a lot of fun and a little competitive, I have to say. Boggle, you didn't know that Boggle could be competitive, but we made it competitive. And just the overall a sense of belonging where here Sesmalot is at Donna Robbins Gabriel School, and really bringing a sense of community into the work that we do, and how do we do that together, for sure. This also was an opportunity. We worked with Chris Silver, who was here with the house posts that were unveiled this year, and he led the cultural work of honoring Carlin. And Carlin had done the work. I'm trying to do two things at once here. Carlin had done the work at Alex Hope Elementary, and so each of the wings now has a representation of Indigenous art from a Coast Salish perspective. And we had Kwantlen, we had Kate C. drummers at this event, so we got an opportunity to honor Carlin done there. And last but not least, this was our largest graduating class at our Aboriginal Achievement Awards. And for those of you, I just want to say thank you for those who were able to make it. We just kept setting up tables. Claire's been so kind to find us a new venue, because we've realized we've run out of space for honoring our students. And there was 92 graduates who stood on the stage, and we had more that were supposed to come, and they ended up being sick, but that was the most that they've ever had, by well over 20 more students of Indigenous ancestry showed up for that evening. So it was really a wonderful evening, and you can see the pride that students have and the pride that they have in who they are. And it's a great opportunity. I'd like to think that part of that was the truth and reconciliation journey that they've been able to be part of, so that they've gotten to know who they are as an Indigenous person in today's society. And we're really proud of that piece. And that's something that I know we'll be continuing on. That's why we're trying to find a new place to host more people, so we can honor more students. So that's all I have for you tonight. And Lynn, do I get any questions?
Thank you very much, Colleen, for being here and for your presentation. Trustees, do you have any questions or comments or? No? Okay, well, really, no? Really appreciate the important work that you're doing, and it's great to have you on board this year, and look forward to continuing the work with you. And I know I'm fortunate enough to sit on as the trustee rep on Yayastol, the Indigenous Education Council, and I get to see the great work that you're doing there as well. And so just appreciate all of the opportunities that are being created for our students and staff to learn about truth and reconciliation, and our Indigenous cultures and languages and history. And I always keep learning as well, and so really appreciate you sharing with us. I was taking some notes actually as you spoke as well, so on some things I wasn't actually aware of. So but thank you again for all your hard work.
And I just want to say that there are some things that are coming up, particularly Sesmalot is doing a language games day at Fort Langley Elementary. And it's a whole day event. So if you want to learn a little bit of Hunkaminam and brush up on your Hunkaminam, that Fort Langley, it's an all-day event. So if you want any of that information, let me know. And I know that there's other things that are going on, like this Sunday at Douglas Park. Lower Fraser Valley is also hosting some Indigenous Day events. And it's always a great opportunity to be out and be part of what's going on in the community. as well. So appreciate that. And everyone's commitment to truth and reconciliation.
Thank you again. Right, trustees, could I please, sorry, I'm just getting back to my place on my page here. Could I please have a mover that the Board of Education receives the update on truth and reconciliation for information as presented? Moved by trustee Dickinson, seconded by trustee Fox. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Right, we're moving along to Secretary Treasurer's reports. 7.1, 2026-2027 Annual Budget Bylaw, third reading. I will pass this over to you, Secretary Treasurer Isley.
Thank you, Chair. As trustees will recall, we went through the preliminary budget for 26-27 at the May 26 public board meeting. And in your package tonight is the same proposed budget for the third and final reading. Just a quick summary as we went through it in detail in May. Total revenue in the proposed budget is just under $329 million, with expenses being just under $327,000, which leaves us in a deficit position of just over $900,000, which, a reminder, districts are allowed to have a deficit budget if they have prior year's accumulated surpluses that they can use to balance that off, which is the case. So the funding for that will come from just over $547,000 from the restricted amount to balance future budgets. That 547 is structural costs, so that is an ongoing structural deficit that we would have. The remainder is a one-time item that we'd plan to do with the ERP replacement for just over $354,000, and that's how we would pay for the structure for the deficit of $902,000. Reminder for trustees would require two motions tonight. First being the restricted amounts to be able to balance the funds, and then the required third reading to adopt the budget so that we can submit that and be compliant with the June 30th deadline from the ministry. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Trustees, do you have any questions? Trustee Fox.
Heard in the last, since our May meeting, anything relative to the ministry coming forth with funding benefit increases in that regard? And also, have we heard anything about contractual increases that I know the ministry had not actually funded to this point, to that point?
Trustee Fox, no information on funding for benefits other than they have announced funding for the 26-27 school year for the teacher settlement. A part of that is the changes to the benefit contribution amounts between staff and the district, and they have funded that. Staff are still going through the funding to determine, but right now it looks like we were adequately funded.
So at this point in time, you feel fairly secure that we are in a good place relative to that?
First indicators are staff are still working through the details.
Okay, thank you. If I could add a comment, just in terms of going back one to Superintendent Gill's report on the board in service and so on, one of the areas with political advocacy and influence. And I just wanted to make note of, as a trustee, we get the BCSDA trustee updates on a weekly basis. And on January the 5th, our president, Tracy Loeffler, presented to the Standing Committee on Financing Government Services on behalf of the membership on three priorities. One was increased on non-targeted funding for public school education. Number two was adequate funding for costs of childcare. And number three was funding of unfunded inflationary pressures. And I just want to say that as trustees from this school district, our input and motions that we put forth at the VCSD AGM convention were embedded in these presentations. So I think it's fair to say that were represented. And I appreciate the fact that we had, as a group of trustees, had given input that made its way all the way to the provincial forum, but I'm not sure if we have quite been heard yet and made a difference, because we still have some outstanding aspects that we would love to see covered. The least of which is to see the increase per pupil increase in funding reflect the actual true and honest dollars that are needed to run the system in a particularly constructive way, rather than using up surplus monies to cover deficits. So thank you to the staff. I would say that to our Secretary Treasurer and Assistant Secretary Treasurer, because they've worked hard to keep this budget in line and allow us to continue the programming we need to continue to do without cuts. So.
Thank you, Trustee Fox. Any other trustees have any? Trustee Dickinson.
I just wanted to echo Trustee Fox's compliments, in that I know it's been a lot of work, and I know that it's probably extremely frustrating to be in a place where we have a deficit. And I really do hope that moving forward, we can continue to advocate provincial government and to the BCSTA at different events, because the lack of funding is frustrating. So thank you for doing what you do and can with what you got.
Thank you. Any other trustees? No. I'll just echo as well, my fellow trustees, and I know this one's has been a hard one, and harder than in many years. So so thank you as well for you and your team's hard work, because I know it hasn't been easy. All right, so seeing no other hands here, sorry, I'm just keep coughing for some reason tonight. So could I please have a mover then that the Board of Education directs staff to appropriate the following restricted surplus amounts to balance the 2026-27 annual budget, internally restricted to balance future budgets, $547,726, and internally restricted for ERP replacement, $354,611. Moved by Trustee Dickinson, seconded by Trustee Ward. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay. And next motion, could I please have a mover that the school district number 35 Langley annual budget bylaw for fiscal year 2026-27 in the amount of $429,622,056 be given third reading, passed and adopted on the 16th day of June 2026. Moved by Trustee Fox, seconded by Trustee Neufeld. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So we're moving on to 5-year capital plan 2027-28. I will pass back to you, Secretary Treasurer Isley.
Thank you, Chair. Tonight is the first part of the capital plan for 25-26. Just a reminder, trustees have seen the proposed plan in the finance and facilities meeting. We haven't made any changes to that. Districts are required to submit a annual 5-year capital plan. A reminder that what we submit in the 25-26 year is for approvals of the 27-28 ministry fiscal year. And we find out usually in March. So next March we would find out. Our submissions need to be in line with the long-range facilities plan, which these are, and it requires a resolution of the Board of Education. And the major is due June 30th, and that's what's before you tonight. And the minor capital is due September 30th, and that'll be brought back to the September public board meeting. As discussed at the Finance and Facilities meeting, a couple changes in the plan, mainly around modular classrooms. We've added more requests for modular just due to the immediate need for space. This plan is basically two parts, the short-term dire need of space that we are trying to accomplish through modulars, and you can see most of those are asked for in year one of the plan, but as well as for building of schools and sites also in year one. So there's a lot that we're asking as soon as possible, just due to the growth that we've seen in Langley over the number of years. We are one of the few districts that are still continuing to grow and are anticipated to do so for the foreseeable future, not at the levels that we saw a few years ago, but still at levels of close to an elementary school a year. So we are behind on the need for space at elementary, so the plan incorporates that. So with that, I hand it back to you, Chair, and I'm happy to answer any questions on the submission in front of you.
Thank you. Trustees, do you have any questions? Trustee Fox? Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, I have a couple of things that I wanted to mention. And maybe if I could, through you to the Secretary Treasurer. When we've discussed this in committee, we discussed the fact that we've made a number of requests for modulars in terms of priority, as well as new school builds. Can you explain the difference between the funding model associated with modulars, where the fact that they come in, they're different pots of money, they're different line items in the provincial budget?
I'm not sure that they're different pots of money, but there's a different process for them. Modulars can be announced at any time throughout the year, whereas new school builds, we only get approvals and information on that to start that process through the capital plan response letter. So for an elementary school, the earliest we would hear being able to do a business case, which is the first step, would be next March. Then we would have to do the business case and then move on through the process with the ministry, and that process is outlined in the package. But whereas modulars, there is no business case to be done. There's a set funding per classroom, and those approvals come a lot quicker and can get started. And we've been able to do 3 modulars that have all been announced roughly in this time frame and have opened the following September.
Thank you. There's a couple of other things. Can you go back to that slide if you don't mind, please? That one. In the second grouping there, there's the first 2 items. Maybe if you could take a minute to explain acquiring park site for Southwest Latimer and for Southeast Gordon, or sorry, Northeast Gordon, now called Jericho. Why do we have to get those sport field sites?
We own 5 acres for each of those, which would be what we've traditionally done for the school site build. We have been working in partnership with the Township of Langley, where they build a park next door, and they own space at both of those sites. But there is, to my knowledge, still a motion from council putting the joint park sites on hold. So for us to be able to make sure that we have field space for our schools, we felt the need to put in a request to purchase the land so that we could have field next to our school. Hopefully, if council repeals that motion and continues with that plan, those would no longer be needed and could be removed from the plan. And the other sites are now also reflective of the need to purchase not only the school site, but also a park site next to it.
And if I could, just one more comment. Again, back to the political advocacy and influence. The Board of School Trustees here had a face-to-face meeting with the Ministry of Infrastructure. It was actually Zoom, wasn't face-to-face in person, face-to-face and over a screen. With respect to the our number one priority, which is the Southwest Latimer School, we did offer, as a result of the motion that was put forth on September 23rd, to do an innovative school structure, which would be financially prudent, and in terms of building timeframe could be expedited. We didn't obviously get there. It's unfortunate that the next call for new schools is going to be in March, or potentially we hear about it in March. Hopefully it's still top of mind on their list and we can continue to advocate for it, as it's been our number one proposal for a couple of years now. And so we'd like to get that off the board and move along to the Jericho site. So just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other trustees have any comments? No? All right, well, thank you very much for this. And as Secretary Treasurer Isley mentioned, we already did have a chance to discuss this in committee. So, and to ask many questions, if anybody's wondering why we don't ask that many questions, because we already did ask quite a few ahead of time. So thank you very much for the update. And I would ask, please, if I could have a trustee, please, to move that. Just one sec, sorry, get my right place here. That in accordance with provisions under section 142(4) of the School Act, the Board of Education of School District number 35 Langley hereby approves the proposed 5-year capital plan, major capital programs for 2027-28 as provided on the attached major 5-year capital plan summary for 2027-2028 to be submitted to the Ministry of Infrastructure. Moved by Trustee Dickinson, seconded by Trustee Fox. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, moving on to 3-year financial plan. I will give this back to you, Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you, Chair. Part of some work that was done at the ministry level, there's some recommendations that were made for districts, one of which was to have a 3-year financial plan, which the district has been doing for a number of years. It starts with the budget that was approved just previously tonight, and the 2 subsequent years. The 2 subsequent years are very high level estimates, just to be an indicator of kind of where the district is going financially. For this plan, it was a very conservative plan. We've only gotten, items that were required for the enrollment increases from the students that are projected to come over the next 3 years. This plan was also shared at the Finance and Facilities meeting earlier this month, and there's a detailed report done by staff, and I'd like to thank staff for the work that they've done on this report, and for our Director of Communications, the work that she's also put into to make it look nice and pretty. The result is you can see that deficit number climbing over the next number of years due to the cost pressures that districts across the province are facing that go unfunded, to the larger ones being the increases in costs of the premiums for extended health and dental, increases for teachers as they move up the grid, and just the inflation factor that is hitting everyone. If you go to the grocery store, it costs a lot more today than it did not that long ago. And all those things are also impacting what we as a district have to acquire, and there has been no funding over the last number of years for any of those cost pressures. So of those deficits, As a district, we do have some money in reserves, but based on the plan, you can see at the top there, the deficit for the first 2 years of the plan can be covered by the accumulated surpluses that we have. But in year 3, we are about $2.4 million short without going into the unrestricted $5.35 million, which is board policy. And it was also a recommendation by the ministry for boards to have funds set aside for unforeseen items in the range of 1.5% to 4%. To balance that budget, we would have to take it from that fund, and that would put us below that 1.5 policy amount. And the policy does state that boards are to replenish that fund to the 1.5% level over the 2 subsequent fiscal periods. So this assumes obviously no additional surplus funds over the next 2 years, but we can't count funds that we haven't achieved. But it does show trustees and the public the impacts that we're planning and seeing with these unfunded cost pressures and the impact it's going to have on the district over the next couple of years. So with that, I hand it back to you, Chair, and if there are questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Trustees, do you have anything? Trustee Dickinson.
Through the chair to Secretary Treasurer Isley, are we hopeful that this trend of deficits is going to continue? Like, are it going to stop? Like, are we hopeful that we'll start getting more money from the government at some time, or are we looking at like a 5 to 10 years of this?
There's always hope. I do hope that there will be funding coming for this. The indications that we've received that it doesn't sound like that anything's coming in the near future to offset some of these inflationary pressures. I know BC ASBO has done a report showing kind of these pressures across districts and the number of districts that are being forced to do cuts. So that has been submitted and the ministry is well aware of that. Yeah, the message we're getting is there's no funds coming and that there's no funds in Victoria. And, you know, at the last funding update, the good news was that there was no bad news for education.
So are we then starting to look at planning for what 5 years down the road when we don't have any restricted funds to release and we've run out of surplus? Have we started thinking about what things may look like 5 years from now?
We haven't looked that far. We do the 3-year. The piece that we don't know in that equation is even for this fiscal year what the surplus above budget may be. So there may be some more funds to carry that a little farther. You're going to see what are happening in other districts. We cut small parts this year. I think that's just only going to grow. And the discussions that we've had as a senior team is that we're going to do everything in our power to make sure it least impact on a classroom as possible as we go through that process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Fox.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the Secretary Treasurer. So a couple of years ago, the Minister of Education took over the financing of operations, and basically the Minister of Infrastructure took over the building of structures and school capital funds. I haven't seen where that has created an advantage in any way, shape, or form to the system as a whole. Consistently on both sides of the equation, the issue is always no money. I'm just wondering this is just a thought as we talk about this, having just done the capital plan and now doing the budget. Do you think that this is an advantageous sort of situation where we've got now two ministries to deal with as opposed to one? In other words, we've got to make the case to two distinctly different operatives as opposed to just the one in terms of trying to make the district meet the district needs operationally and capitally.
It definitely requires us now to advocate in two channels, shall we say? One on a funding and one on a capital funding. I wouldn't say that changed infrastructure has brought no change. The whole modular program has come in under the infrastructure change, with them understanding that throughout the province at the time and now in specific pockets, Langley being included, that there was a drastic need for space at a rapid clip that didn't fit into the old model of, business case, treasury board, and, you're 2 years before you even start the planning of a school. So that has been a change that has been brought out, that we've benefited from. We've gotten a number of classrooms in just over a year that would have been unheard of before.
Okay, it's good to hear. I was just going to to our communications director, if you nice beautiful report. Can you do something about the numbers in the report when you're making it up? It just might nice and beautiful would be really great. Thank you. No answers. It's okay.
Thank you. Any other trustees? All right, well, thank you again for the work, and actually, and thank you to staff for the great easy to read report. That it's excellent, very well done. All right, can I please have a mover then that the Board of Education approves the 3-year financial plan as presented? Moved by trustee Dickinson, seconded by trustee Neufeld. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay. Moving on to school site acquisition charge. SSACs, I'll pass this back to you.
Thank you, Chair. In your package tonight is some information on the school site acquisition charge process, and tonight the item before you is the eligible school sites, which is part of that process. The school site acquisition charge is a requirement under the Local Government Act, and districts that are requesting sites in their 5-year capital plan are required to have a school site acquisition charge. These charges are intended for developers when they're doing new developments, residential developments, to assist in paying for a part of the cost of new school sites. These funds are collected by the city and the municipality on our part, and then sent to us periodically, and we hold in a land capital account, which is only usable for approved capital land purchases that is approved. This school site acquisition charge process is required to be done annually, even if districts are at the maximum and can't actually change. We are currently at the maximum charge allowable under the school site acquisition charge in the Act, but we still go through this process with the township and the city, and the information in your package. Based on information provided by the township and the city of Langley, they've prepared what they anticipate in the next 10 years. Some of this obviously is subject to change, as both these are looking at some of their neighborhood and community plans, but this was the information that was available to us via township and the city at the time. So a total over the 10 years of just over 23,500 units, and based on our yields and information, we anticipate just over 7,300 new students coming from these developments. Part of it you've already seen, the sites that we've put in our capital plan. So those are the same sites that are part of the eligible school sites that are in your package to be approved as part of this process tonight, total of $325 million. The formula was set up to cover 35% of the site purchase requirements. But as you can see, using the low density one, the max is $1,000. Based on the 35% formula, we would have to be charging $6,000 to, so we're about 6 times higher than what we can actually charge to cover off what the intended 35% was. It's closer this year, just that the land values have started to decline. And so the ask for the land values has gone down, but then not the amount of the land. So next steps in the process, first being tonight, the board approving the eligible school sites. We will then notify both the city and the township of that motion and the school sites. They were informed that this is being discussed tonight. They have 60 days to either accept or reject the school sites, and then the last piece of the approval is from the ministry. When they send us our response letter for the capital plan, they also say whether or not they approve our eligible school sites and the school site acquisition charge. And once that letter comes, we have 60 days to do a new bylaw, even though the rates wouldn't be changing. And then we, the township and the city have 60 days to put that into effect. But since there's no change being proposed in the rates, there would be no change on their behalf. But that is the process, and that is what is in your package. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Trustees, any questions? All right. Could I please have a mover then that the Board of Education approves the eligible school sites as presented? Moved by Trustee Ward, seconded by Trustee Dickinson. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay. Moving on to 7.5, amended annual 5-year capital plan.
Thank you, Chair. Mentioned modulars a few times tonight in the process. So we did receive our capital plan response letter in March, and we did do our capital plan bylaw in April. Since then, we have received an updated response letter, which has added an 8-classroom modular for Donna Gabriel Robbins Elementary and a 4-classroom modular for Josette Dandrin Elementary. So that requires us to update our bylaw so that staff can start accessing these funds and working on these projects. So there's the staff has proposed all 3 readings tonight. The third motion in your package to have all 3 readings. I just remind trustees is required to be unanimous for us to be able to proceed to do the third and final reading.
Thank you. Trustees, do you have any questions or comments? Very exciting to be getting these going. Okay, so then seeing no questions, Trustee Fox, you want to put your mic up?
Can I just ask a question about the modulars? Because Josette Dandrin and Donna Gabriel Robbins are relatively new. Will the modulars be add-on a modular or separate buildings with a like Richard Bullpit with a walkway, covered walkway, or Nicamaco is the same in terms of their design?
Donna Gabriel for the 8 will be a standalone building, just by how it has to be situated to make it work. Josette Dandrin has 2 options, which we will have to determine as we go through the RFP process. One could be attached and one could be a standalone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Just quick following up on that, remind me again that when they're detached, though, there is a walkway, correct? We did that with Linfrips, I believe. So there's that undercover walkway so they can.
There most likely would not be for the
Okay.
Donna Gabriel, that's right beside the building.
Okay.
But it would have its own elevator and all those things built into it.
Okay, thank you. Trustees, then could I please have a mover that school district number 35 Langley, capital plan 2026-2027, capital bylaw number 2026-27 CPSD 35-02 be given first reading. Moved by trustee Dickinson, seconded by trustee Neufeld. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Next motion is, could I please have a mover that the school district number 35 Langley, capital plan 2026-2027, capital bylaw number 2026-27 CPSD 35-02 be given second reading. Moved by Vice Chair Wilson, seconded by trustee Ward. Any discussion on the motion? See no discussion. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Could I now please have a mover that the Board of Education of School District number 35 Langley approves having all three readings of the capital plan 2026-2027, capital bylaw number 2026-27 CPSD 35-02 at tonight's meeting. Do I have a mover? A moved by trustee Fox, seconded by trustee Neufeld. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? You're in favor, correct? Okay. So that's carried unanimously. And then could I please, on our final motion here, have a mover that the school district number 35 Langley, capital plan 2026-2027, capital bylaw number 2026-27 CPSD 35-02 be given third reading, passed and adopted on the 16th day of June 2026. Moved by trustee Fox, seconded by trustee Ward. Any discussion on the motion? See no discussion. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right. We are moving on to policy committee now. And as chair of the policy committee, that would be me. I'll report out on these and bring a motion forward. So number 8.1 was notice, oh my goodness, I can't talk. Notice of motion, return policy 2 for role of the board. Trustees may recall that just let me get my notes organized here. So at the April 28th regular board meeting, we passed a motion that the Board of Education serves notice of motion to the district's education community and its education partner groups that it intends to adopt the revisions to policy 2, role of the board, at the June 16th, 2026 regular board meeting. What we did what the revision was we added a statement with regards to two-way communication between the board, Indigenous communities, and stakeholder groups. And notice the motion was served, requesting feedback, and no feedback was received. So I would like to make a motion that the Board of Education approves policy 2, role of the board as presented. Okay, seconded by trustee Fox. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. And then moving on to notice of motion. So these next two motions we discussed at the April 28th regular board meeting. Trustees may remember with regards to policy 5 and then 8. So we'll sorry, just let me get myself organized here. So we these policies, we asked the policy committee to take it back. This was with regards to the motion that came from Vice Chair Wilson. And it was referred back to the policy committee for further review of the committee selection process. And then the policy committee did meet. I can't remember what date that was, but we did meet and discuss. And we actually had quite a robust and lengthy conversation. It was about 2.5 hours, if I recall, So it was a lot of back and forth and, trying to set the next board up for success. And so we ultimately came up with the change, and I'm just going to pull up my policy. Apologies here for give me a minute. Gotta get to that spot on my page here. So we added, okay, so under trustees may see under, we've crossed out the existing text in number 10, and we've added recommend trustee appointments, alternates. So this is the chair. So this is under the board chair. 1 second here. Role of the board chair, yes. Sorry, so the board chair, so we've added recommended trustee appointments, alternates. I should probably put my glasses on so it's easier. Trustee appointments, alternates, and committee chairs to the board after consulting with trustees and making every reasonable effort to reflect trustee interests, experience, and equitable participation, while ensuring the effective functioning of the board's committee structure. Appointments shall be approved by the board at the first regular meeting following the inaugural meeting. So that was what we ended up coming up to after, I could say, very robust conversation, and it was, or productive, maybe more, I should say. It was a good discussion. Some of us started out one way and then changed, and after discussing and what ifs, then just trying to set the board up to be successful in the next term. So, I do have a motion that to bring forward that the Board of Education serves notice of motion to the district's education community and its education partner groups that it intends to adopt the revisions to Policy 5, role of the board chair at the September 22, 2026 regular board meeting. So I'd like to move that, and then do I have a seconder? Seconded by Trustee Ward. Any discussion on the motion? No? Okay. All right, so could I please have a show of hands though, then all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And then number 8, I'll just get to my correct spot for that too. So number 8, I believe we just added to that. Oh no, we crossed out a few things. So trustees will see under board committees, we added that the same, actually the exact same phrase, I believe it was, the board chair will recommend trustee appointments, alternates, and committee chairs to the board after consulting with trustees and making every reasonable effort to reflect trustee interests, experience, and equitable participation while ensuring the effective functioning of the board's committee structure. Appointments shall be approved by the board at the first regular meeting following the inaugural meeting. Any changes during the term will be recommended by the board chair to the board for approval at a public meeting. So that's on page 1 of 8 of our policy 8. And then on page 2, we added and vote to the line, any member of the board may attend standing committee meetings as a guest, but only appointed members of the standing committee may participate. So we added and vote. We also added on the same page, it shall be the responsibility of the absent voting member trustee to advise the committee chair and alternate prior to the committee meeting. And then on page 3, we removed 1.3.1, which it was the chair and of the committee, and committee members shall be appointed by the Board of Education chair after the Board of Education chair has consulted with other trustees. And we just renumbered the following 2. And then as well on page 4 of the policy, we removed 2.3.2, which says the chair and members shall be appointed by the Board of Education chair after the Board of Education chair has consulted with other trustees. We've removed that and then renumbered the following 2. And I believe, and then on page 5, we did a similar edit to remove the chair of the committee. And so this is just under all of the different committees. The chair of the committee and members shall be appointed by the Board of Education chair after the Board of Education chair has consulted with other trustees. And then renumbered the following two. And that's just because all of these are already up at the very beginning of the, so it was just redundant text. Again, under on page 6, under 3.7 membership, we removed again the chair and members shall be appointed by the Board of Education chair. After there's text missing in our copy. After the Board of Education chair has consulted with other trustees. So we remove that as well. And then on page 7, 5.3.2, we removed the board chair will appoint an alternate trustee who will attend in place of an absent voting member trustee. It shall be the responsibility of the absent voting member trustee to advise the committee chair and alternate prior to the committee meeting. And 5.3.3, we removed the chair and members shall be appointed by the Board of Education chair after the Board of Education chair has consulted with other trustees. And then we renumbered the following two. And again, that's just because that's more housekeeping because we already have it at the beginning of the policy. And that is it. So I'd like to move that the Board of Education serves notice of motion to the district's education community and its education partner groups that it intends to adopt the revisions to policy 8 board committees at the September 22nd, 2026 regular board meeting. Moved by trustee Ward. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by, sorry, I moved it. I moved on. That must be the end of the night. You have trustee Ward seconded it. My apologies. Okay, so any discussion on the motion? Okay, discussion? Oh, you're already wanting to vote? Okay, Vice Chair Wilson, you had, oh, sorry, trustee Ward, you did have something? Oh, okay, sure, go ahead. Then I'll come to you.
Okay, thank you through the chair. I just want to concur with Chair Ashdown that there was robust discussion on this, and in the board we are reviewing policies once per term anyhow. So policies are kind of effectively living documents. So if we determine that some change is not as profitable as we might have anticipated and creates more net, let's say, negative than net positive, then we can always amend in the future. So, but I think this is something that made sense and it was brought up by trustee Wilson, and we're going to give it a shot. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Wilson.
Great, and I want to thank the policy committee for taking this back and doing the work. Obviously, it was a long meeting, it sounds like, and a lot of discussion went on. I think that this policy now is more democratic and more transparent in the process. But I did have a question for, while you were discussing, I know that the suggestion I had made about the section on any member of the board may attend standing committee meetings as a guest, but only appointed members of the standing committee may, and I had struck out participate. So I wondered what the discussion was on why the policy committee didn't want other trustees to be able to participate in the meeting, even though they would not be eligible to vote. And I know that when I brought the motion forward, I had discussed that oftentimes, such as this, when trustee that's not on the committee brings forward the motion and it gets referred to the committee, it seems like that trustee would have kind of the most knowledge on why they felt that change was important, and for them to not be able to have a voice at all in that meeting or to discuss things when they're hearing the meeting unfold and might have a point of they know exactly why this part is or what other districts did because they did research before bringing that forward, that to not let them have any participation or voice, even though I fully understand why they wouldn't have a vote, seems like something that you must have discussed, and I'm just wondering the rationale behind it.
We did discuss that. Do you remember, trustee Ward, exactly what we were talking about? I mean, it was a very long meeting, so we definitely did discuss it though. And
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't recall every detail. I think we had some assistance with all the minds that were at the table, including staff, if anybody does recall, but uh, the idea of a plus or a committee meeting, obviously, it's not going to be a committee of the whole already. So you're limiting the number of active participants in virtue of that, but that doesn't mean that the recommendations from a board member to the policy committee meeting and then back to the board doesn't mean that it's going to fall on deaf ears. I hear what you're saying. I wish I could recall further the conversation. Maybe staff can assist.
Okay, Superintendent Gill, I'll let you comment. I think you have something to add.
Yeah, I think a couple of reasons. The first reason was trying to put policy together with multiple people in the room was difficult enough. We had 3 people in the room and trying to get to that place. In addition to that, you got to be careful at some point, even though I'm not a voting member, when they're speaking at that particular meeting, you do have 4 trustees in that conversation at that point as well. So it should be really a conversation to be had at this table. And the recommendation really comes from that table to this table, where further discussion like this question, which is being brought up right now, can be had with the committee of the whole before it goes to public as well. So the other fear really was the opportunity for folks to kind of always bring things to that particular policy meeting and really flood that meeting with one or two items that they individually had they wanted to bring to policy and always be speaking and not allow for the work of the policy committee to actually happen. Anything else you want to add, Secretary Tripp?
One thing too that I will add, I believe we did discuss as well, is that, and thank you for that, is that trustees, if they want something to go forward to policy committee, always have the opportunity, of course, to reach out to individual policy committee members to discuss ahead of a meeting. There's no reason why you can't, have individual discussions with somebody if you want to explain, and also there's nothing preventing trustees from asking, as we discussed the last meeting, asking the policy committee to look at a policy, or, we did at our last regular board meeting, ask it to be sent back to policy committee. So but there's always opportunities to have, but that's right, because it was hard, even just with 3 of us. Superintendent Gill's right, it was really hard to come to consensus, and it is with policy. So even this was a very rushed process, where normally our discussion at our policy committee meeting with these 2 policies, normally we would send them back to staff with direction to work on it and take more time. Whereas this was rushed a lot, just, because we wanted to get it back for this meeting to get out for notice of motion for September. But normally we would even take more time. But it was, like I say, even with 3 of us, because Trustee Rye was there as well as part of the policy committee, and it's very difficult with even 3 of us. So yeah, so that was a big part of the discussion. Did you have anything else you wanted to ask or add? No? Okay. Okay. So we have it. It's been moved and seconded. So any more discussion on the motion? Seeing no more discussion. Or can I have show of hands, please? Those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right. There was nothing in new business this evening. So trustee work reports. Did trustees have anything that they wanted to report on with their work this past month? Trustee Fox?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Ashdown. Just a couple of things. It's been a very busy last 4 weeks for staff and for trustees, and as I chuckle, some of the senior administrators and I have had more dinners together than we've had at home, but that's okay because we're doing the work. Anyway, the first thing I wanted to mention was a thanks to our partner groups. Attended 5 meetings with our partner groups Many of them are here tonight. I appreciate their input. It was an opportunity to listen, to take notes. And I appreciate the fact that their candidness and they're bringing up the issues that and ideas and thoughts and concerns. And I say that in a constructive way because, you know, what can we do better is always a good question to ask. And their responses are always, I think, important and need to be part of the discussion. So thank you to them. I just, one of my favorite things, a couple of my favorite things, and actually I know Mr. Gill, Superintendent Gill is really looking forward to tomorrow night because I get to give a speech at one of two grads. And I know that as trustees, we get to talk to grads and that's always an exciting thing. Seeing grads walk across the stage and whatnot. But prior to that, I've had the opportunity to sit and listen to student capstones. And if there's ever an opportunity to listen to students tell their story about their years of learning, their projects, their ambitions, it's through the capstone process. And I was at Alder Grove yesterday, going to Walnut Grove, and I've been to other schools listening to capstones and students talking about where they're at in their journey, but more importantly, where they're going. And I think that's really an important piece of one of our core values, which focuses on that educational and post-educational career. To the graduates, congratulations. And to all our staff who have worked really, really hard. You know, it's summer coming up. I know we got a couple weeks, but it's time to relax and enjoy your family. And thanks to all our partner groups, our staff, and the people that make this district tick. Appreciate that. We'll see you in September. Still have work to do.
Trustee Dickinson, do you have a work report?
I have the honor of sitting on the 2S LGBTQ+ committee, and I just wanted to say that I'm really proud of all the work that you've done this year. And furthermore, our GSAs across the district, all the work that they've done, especially during Pride Month. So happy Pride Month, everybody, and keep up the good work. It was also an honor to speak at Vanguard's grad, and I look forward to speaking at Fine Arts on Thursday. And apart from that, I just want to say thank you to all of our staff and partner groups, and that I wish everybody a happy and restful and safe summer.
Thank you. Trustee Ward, do you have a work report?
Thank you. Yeah, this is going to be a little bit redundant. I just want to concur with Trustee Fox. The partner group meetings were quite profitable, I find. A lot of the conversation about retention. A lot of staff want to, like, we obviously, you know, love our staff. We want to keep our staff here and want to keep them content. And we want to send that message forward for others that want to apply to SD 35. So great, robust discussions, and my future work reports will be next week on Monday and Wednesday. So 2 graduation ceremonies, which I've done before, UConnect and Langley Education Center. So I'm very much looking forward to that, and also wishing all the grads great success in the future as well.
Thank you. Vice Chair Wilson.
Great. Echo the other trustees on the partner group meetings. They were very valuable. I do also want to recognize that last week we got to attend the service awards and retirements, the district ones, and that's always a highlight of the year for me, and seeing so many of our staff be recognized and the true heartfelt thank you that goes out from this district, the staff and the trustees, on everybody's service to this district. Some people, you know, have worked for 30. I've been to ones where there was a 50-year recognition. People give their lives to this district, and to recognize that is a great thing. But I also want to recognize just all the people, the staff, every single one of you that have been running our buildings and doing everything. And even the parents, you know what, you're sending your kid there every day. I know by this time of year, you are getting to your last lunch that you can pack, but just hang in there, and we recognize all of you. So thank you for that. And I will be doing LSS's grad this Thursday, and congratulations to all the grads everywhere, and have a great summer, everyone.
Thank you. Any other trustees have any? Okay, well, thank you very much. And I too, as well, enjoyed our partner group meetings. I always do, where we share dinner and roundtables, and we're able to have some great conversations and learn more every time. Really valuable time for me, I know, and I know our whole board feels the same way. So, and also our board development plan evening that we had recently with Suzanne Hoffman. That's always great, and it's always a nice kind of nice time to spend with my fellow trustees, and I think we always enjoy it and have a few laughs at the same time too. And so it was a great night. And the district retirement and service recognition, I also attended that, and it's always one of my favorite, among my favorite. There's lots of my favorites at the end of the year, but it's always such a great evening. And I attended Brookswood Secondary's graduation last night with Deputy Superintendent Woody Bradford, and that was a really nice evening. And actually, and I also attended the Vanguard graduation. I didn't, well, I sort of spoke. Trustee Dickinson was gracious enough to ask me to come up on stage with her, and I said a few lines, but I wasn't planning on speaking. I just had asked if I could attend, because I've always heard what a nice grad that it is, and I just wanted to go and attend, and I had the evening free. So so thank you, Trustee Dickinson, for inviting me up with you, and it was really, it was lovely. I was glad that I made it, and I have the DW Poppy grad tomorrow, so I'm excited about that. And I know Trustee Rye is at the Langley Fundamental Middle Secondary graduation as well this evening, and bringing greetings on behalf of the board, plus her son is graduating, so very exciting evening for her. So I will move now on to question period. So question period is provided at board meetings. Purpose is to ensure that those present in the audience have an opportunity to obtain clarification concerning business conducted during that meeting. Priority will be given to responding to one question per person before considering further questions from any individual. The following will help the public develop questions for question period at a board meeting that is keeping with the goal of a respectful and focused meeting. Questions need to be directed to the chair, not to staff. They need to be related directly to a topic on the agenda. They need to be succinct, focused, and not to be a statement. May not be asked that are related to personnel or directed at an individual trustee. May not be asked that are related to contract negotiations, and questioners shall provide their names so that it can be reflected in the minutes. All of the above are directions provided for in board policy number 7, board operations. The chair may answer, may defer to staff, or indicate a question may not be in keeping with the above guidelines. The board appreciates the public's interest and wants to ensure a professional meeting is conducted with question period focused on providing guests with the clarification they seek. Trustees also welcome questions from the members of the public. Apart from question period, our contact information is available on the school district website. And I just wanted to quickly remind, and I know Vice Chair Wilson did the last meeting as well, that sorry, I'm losing my voice. That any questions that are asked, we are now putting them, anything we can't answer, I believe. If there's anything we can't answer and have to get back, we're putting that information on board news under the, on the website. If you go to trustees or board, I believe it is board, and then under board news, we're putting any of that information there, so it's available for the public. So, okay, any questions?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? It's all good? Yeah. My name is Rasha Septi. I'm a parent in the Langley School District. I want to ask regarding the changes that happen in relation to policies related to committees. You mentioned that the change specifically to the conversation about being able to speak. So as a parent, as a guest to these meetings, I've also noticed that you're not able to speak. Is that also for everyone, or was that just for the trustees that are attending these meetings?
That, sorry, that is for everyone, unless someone was invited as a guest. But that is for everyone. Their meetings, their board meetings, their board committee meetings. So unless, but like I say, if we do have somebody, we've invited staff or someone from the community as a guest to that meeting, then that's different. But no, the public aren't,
I'm not able.
are not given
to
an
ask
opportunity
or
to speak because they're a board committee meeting, yeah.
Is there a reason for not allowing anyone to sort of participate in these meetings, given the fact that when sometimes a parent coming to a committee, there must be a reason behind that. So making the time and getting it to the committee would, is there a reason why they're not allowed to speak?
Well, it's a board committee. The public are able to request a delegation to the board, or we're always, open to receive emails. I know I regularly reply to emails on behalf of the board, or direct to staff if I can't answer the question. And so there's always opportunity, but those are specifically, so this is with regards to our committees that we sit on, where there's various committees. So they don't all, it depends on the committee structure really, and how, if we're referring exactly to policy, well, it's a board committee, and then so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask another question? The other question I have is, I guess, related to previous meeting, our last meeting where I delegated about e-scooter safety. Was there anything done after, or was there anything taken on part of the school board?
Sorry, that's not on the agenda this evening. So, but I can talk with you after. We can chat with staff about that.
I just figured it was part of the minutes that was
Yeah.
from, that was approved, so that's sort of technically on the agenda, but okay, all right, I'll take that answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Neil Turner. Just wanted a lot was about finances tonight, so you'll probably get to answer some more questions. Just wanted to know, is there an impact on the budget since we've been doing childcare in the school district with that mandate from the province? Is that a cost? Is it a positive for us? Is it an income or a deficit for our budget?
I'm going to pass this one to you.
We have over the last number of years had to subsidize some of those costs. The ministry has been working with our early years district principal to allow districts, they're doing this provincially actually, to be able to charge more in line with what our actual costs are. They did provide a grant this year, to kind of a bridging grant to cover off our planned loss for this year, with the plan to have it break even for the subsequent year. So this year and going forward, the hope is that the childcare will no longer be coming out of the K-12 funding, and it'll be self-sufficient.
Okay, good, thank you. With the Willoughby Elementary trade, if I can call it that, I noticed there was nothing fitting into the capital budget over the next 5 years. Is there no cost for that transfer? I know it's still a MOU at this point, but going forward, how does that fit into the finances?
The proposed plan from the township is that there would be no cost for the district, but so that's why there's no cost in there.
So there's an assumption that taxpayers will be paying for the new school build?
That'd be a question for township council.
For council? Okay, thanks. My last one, did the city and township accept or reject the whole plan on the individual site acquisitions? So is it done as a group when you send that there, or are they done individually, pass or accept?
It's based on the whole list, sorry.
I keep looking at you.
Sorry, Chair, to cut you off. They adopt the whole eligible school site list that the board approved tonight.
So if they didn't like one of them, then they could reject the whole.
They could, yes. And then it would go to a provincial mediation process.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, all right. Oh, we do.
Okay. Is it on now? In the property swap proposal, was there like consideration that there's could be quite significant amount more value of the school property on 80th and 208th than the trade value land where it might be going?
That's a good question.
Could you recoup like money from that if that trade does happen, just on the land value? And also, where are the kids gonna play that come straight out of those buildings that are going to that green space? If now they have to go a couple blocks over to play, have those things been considered?
I'm going to refer over to you. I'm not sure some of it I list in camera or I'm going to pass it to you.
A lot of the work with this is being done in camera, so there's not a lot trustees can say. For the land value, the site is probably worth more, but the proposal is that they're building a new school on the other site, which would be of more value than the difference in the land values.
So that, do you think the other piece of land that's further over has more value than,
With a brand new school on it, yes.
but did you calculate the actual land value trade across? In the
Yeah,
proposal?
the land with an old school is not anticipated to be as valuable as the new land with a brand new school built on it.
Wasn't there funding already available for upgrades on the school that's existing there now on 80th and 208th that will probably be lost if this trade does happen?
No, there was a request for a modular, but there's been no funding approved.
So we did have it on our capital
Previous capital
plan,
plan.
previous capital plan requests for an addition or modular. But at this point, it's not there anymore, assuming this will all work out.
And then because the cost is on the township, I guess that's just the taxpayer's cost. So did you guys calculate that in there as well?
That's a question.
That's a question for the township, yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see anyone else asking to speak, so could I please have a mover that the meeting be adjourned at 8:47 p.m. Moved by Vice Chair Wilson, seconded by Trustee Fox. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. What were you? Good. Good night, everyone.